Welcome to the Total Wireless Store, where total confidence awaits.
I need to keep up with my teens this summer without sweating high cell phone bills.
Don't worry, you got this with Total Wireless. We have plans to fit all your family's needs starting at just $25 on the nation's best 4G LTE network.
I won't miss a thing.
Now you can focus on the important stuff, like arguing about curfew.
Discover the Total Wireless stores and get total confidence. The latest phones, the best network, all at great prices. Now open in Miami. Refer to the latest terms and conditions of service at TotalWireless.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Source Material. Here we go. We are starting this show right now. This evening, we are going to be discussing a character that I really didn't know a whole lot about. This is a book that came out in 2010. We're actually talking the complete series. I think it was 2010 or 2011. But I think the series started out by Paul Dini. That was the writer. And the character's name is Zatanna. So, Ronnie, are we going to have to cross the bridge again on pronunciation like we did with
I've always said Zatanna.
Okay. Okay, just making sure. I mean, I don't care. We're going to pronounce it either way. Zatanna, however.
There's no Y in there.
What? There doesn't have to be, Ronnie Adams. That's where I'm coming from, okay? Now, joining us this evening, special guest co-host. She's been on the Source Material podcast plenty of times. Her name is Alexis Hejna. Alexis, how are you doing? Have we bored you to death yet?
Get there. I'll let you know when we cross the threshold.
Let me tell you what happened last night. 7 o'clock last night. I see a message about how Mark and Pat Mullen are talking back and forth. Pat Mullen, apparently a big Zatanna fan, and he, Mark says, yeah, we read all 16 issues. We're going to be talking about it on the podcast. So at about that time, I chimed in and I said, oh shit, 16. I read 6. I read the first 6 issues of this series, made notes, very detailed notes that probably took me about half an hour on top of reading, and then found out that I have another 10 issues to go. So if at any point you could show, or you could say that I got silly, it was probably about 8 o'clock last night when I was like, okay, I have another 10 issues I've got to read and make notes on. So that's where things started to get a little silly for me. Going to sleep didn't help things. I woke up this morning and had this podcast to look forward to. So what we are talking about tonight is all 16 issues of this run together. Now, Mark, why don't you tell our listeners why are we tying Zatanna in with anything?
We're tying it in with
Mission Impossible.
Damn it. I was going to say we're tying it in with Skyscraper.
Jurassic World.
No, folks, I'm just kidding around. I'm pulling your chain. I'm yanking your chain. I'm pulling your leg. No, we are talking about this one because, well, number one, I actually had it on my list of books to read. I was interested in the character. Again, not a big DC reader, so the first time I saw Zatanna was on an episode of Justice League Unlimited. And this is the one where, correct me if I'm wrong, Alexis, this is the one where Batman sings Am I Blue? Is it Am I Blue?
Yes, that's the one. Cersei appears, turns Wonder Woman into a pig, and Batman goes to get Zatanna's help because he needs someone who actually has experience in the realm of magic.
Right.
Yes,
Yep.
It's Evan Conroy singing Am I Blue, and it is actually one of the finer points, I would say, of Justice League Unlimited. It is awesome.
It's my favorite episode by far, but I became very interested in the character from that point on, and as I was flipping through Amazon, looking at different graphic novels to read, and trying to figure out some characters that I had no previous familiarity with, and try to learn about them, I happened to see this buxom broad in fishnets and a top hat, and I thought, hey, you look fun. And so I threw it on the list. And then
I can actually see the number of listeners dropping rapidly.
Gaining.
There really is it that men won't do for a buxom broad and fishnets. Let's face it. They even make that joke in the Batman the animated series. But what was on our lines? Zatanna goes, Batman's like, what do you care about a leggy dame and fishnets? Or did I just answer my own question?
There you go. Thank you, Alexis. This is the reason why we have you on this podcast. Speaking speaking of which, so I had actually, thrown it on the list to do at some point, and Alexis was, says to me, she says, "Hey, I'm jonesing for a source material fix here. When can I get back in the game?" And I said, "Well, what do you want to talk about?" She said, "How about a buxom dame in fishnets?" And I said, "Oh, well, I've got just the book for you." And she said, "Well, I've got just the book for you." And here we are talking about Zatanna by Paul Dini.
All right.
I didn't know what I talked to. I suddenly developed a New York accent.
You absolutely did.
I just imagine Mark with a big mustache chewing a cigar while he was doing that.
The bagels and lox were everywhere.
Yeah. Raining from the heavens.
Oh, goodness. Well, okay. Ronnie, how about you? Let's talk about your familiarity with Zatanna here. I'll say it 3 different ways before the night's over.
Zatanna.
Zatanna. If you remember the chapter in the book, she hates that.
That's right.
So, all right. So, Ronnie, tell us how much you like Zatanna.
Oh, boy.
I'm a big fan of Prilosec. And, huh?
Go ahead, Ronnie.
I'm familiar with her as far as her being a magic user, saying things backwards. She's pretty darn powerful from what I can understand, from what I can see, because all she has to do is say what she wants to happen backwards, and it happens.
Can I jump in here and say that I'm a moron, and it took me a good 5-6 issues to realize that the magic spells she was casting were just her talking backwards?
No way.
No, I was a good 6-7 issues deep, and I had to read that on Goodreads. And I'm like, that's what that is?
If it makes you feel any better, several times I had to reread the spells because I was not reading them, the words backwards, but still left to right. I started reading them right to left. I'm like, oh, wait, no, I'm reading the words out of context here.
I did the exact same thing. This is one of the more unique characters when it comes to the DC catalog of heroes. That part about it, Mark, is funny because I think I was probably 1 issue in, so I'm not going to sit here and give you a hard time. I mean, 6 or 7, that's pretty extreme, but, I was there at one point. I think probably a lot of people were. I was like, what is she? Oh, it's backwards. Okay. Or, Ronnie, you said she's pretty powerful. You're not kidding. There's a good bit of power that she wields. Now, myself, when it comes to this character, I could very honestly say that I don't remember reading much that she was in. She's not really that frontline, JLA. You got the Trinity, and then you have people below that. I mean, she's definitely, yeah, exactly. Certainly don't remember reading too many stories with her in it. I'm not even going to speculate what I think she's in. So but
Justice League Dark.
That's the first thing came to my mind was Justice League Dark. She's one of the main magic using characters in there.
Did she have a relationship with John Constantine at one time?
Yep.
Let me throw it to you, Alexis. Now, you kind of said that you knew her mostly from the animated side of things, right?
Well, actually, I'm going to tell you, what got me interested in doing this book with you guys, it wasn't Zatanna, it was Paul Dini.
Okay.
You see, as a child of the 80s and 90s, I grew up watching Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, the Batman and Superman animated series. Paul Dini was a head writer for all 4 of those series.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. In fact, some of the best Batman animated series episodes, Almost Got Him, Heart of Ice. He wrote all of those. He won that show a couple of Emmys, I believe.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so I was a huge fan of his work. And I remember it was a couple of years ago, I don't remember, I was reading an article or just goofing around on a wiki or something. And I saw something about Paul Dini, and he had always been fascinated with Zatanna. And there was a running joke apparently in Father's Days that he really was crazy about the character. And this is what was hilarious. Paul Dini's wife, Misty Lee, is a professional magician.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the joke was that Paul Dini was so in love with Zatanna that he basically married the real live version of Zatanna. He married a real live magician. So I always thought that was just a little interesting side note of his character. And when I saw the book listed on our potentials for source material, I'm like, wait, so he actually did write the book about one of his all-time favorite characters? Yes, I have to read this. I want to talk about this.
Very cool.
So I have the DCWikia.com up for Zatanna, and here's a couple of things that, some links of some stuff she's been in. There's Justice League America, Zatanna's Search, Justice League of America Volume 1, Supergirl Volume 1, Zatanna Special, Zatanna Volume 1, which is her first run, her single, as a single book, and it was only 4 issues apparently. This was
Does it have a date there? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yes. 1993.
Okay.
Moving on from that, then you've got Day of Judgment Volume 1, Reign in Hell Volume 1, Zatanna's One Shot Everyday Magic, Seven Soldiers, and then Zatanna Volume 2, which is what we're reading tonight.
Okay. Well, on the flip side of that, let me toss it over here to the Paul Dini wiki. And Ronnie Adams, get this, okay? Paul Dini's career. Dini wrote, the first paragraph, Dini wrote a number of episodes of the 1983 to 1985 animated TV series He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That became favorite amongst the show's fans over the internet, as well as contributing to interviews on the released box sets of the series. Though Dini has made no secret of his distaste for Filmation and the He-Man concept, he wrote an episode for the Dungeons & Dragons cartoon in 83. He wrote an episode of the Generation 1 Transformers cartoon series. This guy's 60 years old, by the way. The Dweller in the Depths, and an episode of the 1985 G.I. Joe cartoon called Jungle Trap. And then, of course, just like Alexis said, his work on Tiny Toon Adventures, Batman the Animated Series. I mean, there is a very, very large amount of animation that this guy had his hand in. Then, 1, 2, 3, 4 paragraphs down, Dini and Bruce Timm introduced Harley Quinn. So,
that's right. Yeah, Paul Dini was pretty much the one who created Harley Quinn. I completely forgot about that.
Amazing. This guy's definitely got his writing chops on him. He's clearly a fan of animation and comics. So let's go ahead. I about had a stroke trying to figure out how I'm going to handle the synopsis tonight. 6 issues that became 6.
Poor Jesse.
Let me just go ahead and I'll really, you guys hop in at any time. I'm sure I'm going to flounder all about here, but I have notes. Really, the main crux of these 16 issues. So let's talk about the Brother Knight story arc. Mark Radulich, what did you think about this villain? Because there was probably, I would say, out of the 16 issues, we at least got about 5 centered around this villain and Zatanna's interactions with him.
Well, let me tell you what I like about Zatanna, besides her look. Hey, what I like about this character is, unlike when we dealt with the Dark Side War and some of the other things that we've dealt with where, syphilis was on the rise and ready to take out the DC universe, and you have, these...
How many callbacks can we fit in an episode? We're the person on here that probably does about 50% of them. We're going to do it.
And then you have these Arrowverse type melodramatic, the world is on my shoulders. I carry the heaviest burdens. You can tell how heavy the burden is by how I'm making my hands look like I'm lifting a heavy object. Right, Jesse?
I know that one.
So.
Call back to another show that's not this one.
Yeah. You know how heavy we learned that how heavy a song is by how it looks, by when the singer looks like he's holding a heavy object and how much he's straining.
That's right.
So anyway,
Lords of Black.
So you have Batman who is always brooding and and he never really gets to live a normal life because he's too busy with the world on his shoulders. And you have Superman who's trying to fight off syphilis and it's just all of these bigger than life stories with these bigger than life characters. It was really nice to read. And what's weird about this is you're talking about somebody whose stock and trade is magic. And other worldly, mystical energy. But she's the most down-to-earth hero that we've read about in some time. I'll put her up against Green Lantern or The Flash or any of them in that she feels the most relatable and the most human on many of the books that we've read all year. I really dug it. I mean, you asked me about Brother Knight and I'm going to connect what I'm saying to that. But what I liked about this book was here you have somebody who has a great special power, but she also needs to eat. And she needs to live a life. And she's a fully formed person with interests and things to do. And she wants to nap. That's a big part of the book. That she doesn't get any sleep, and I relate to that because I live with somebody who wants to sleep all the time. So I get it. Women like to sleep. That was very representational in the book that she's got all this stuff going on. She does her magic show and then a zombie attacks the city and then, and then it's like, I just need a nap. And I know that sounds weird and it sounds like I'm doing a bit and I kind of am, but really, that's the part of the book that I enjoyed was that here's this person with extraordinary powers in an extraordinary situation just trying to live a life.
Yeah.
And so you have
kind of like Fractions around on Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
When I read that, I'll probably agree with you.
We're going to get there, Mark, one of these days.
Yeah, when Robin Hood comes out.
You'll be able to make parallels.
Unless they move it again. There's a lot of the 16 issues that's just dedicated to sort of one-shot stories and different things that she does. But yeah, you're right. A large portion of it was also dedicated to Brother Knight, who, again, wasn't interested in taking over the universe, didn't have some large, complex, cosmic plan. He was just like, you know what? I've run this realm for as long as I have bigger ambitions. There's no reason why I can't be the kingpin of crime in San Francisco, so I'm gonna.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's as far as his intentions had reached. And it was like, you know what? I enjoy, a villain who says, I'm going to carve out this niche for me and I'm going to run with it. And a hero that says, nope, I live in that niche. I'm going to defend it. And they're fighting over this little piece of the world and it doesn't just blow up all over the place like some of these other books that we read do. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed that. So I liked the feud between Zatanna or Zantac or Zahara, however you pronounce her name, and Brother Goodnight. We have all these problems with sort of, the sexualization of women, and getting interest in fans for comic books. They all have to look like they're falling out of their costume. Versus, the idea that you can still have a very strong, powerful, interesting comic book character who is a female, who isn't hiding from her sexualization either.
I did like how she makes no qualms that her work clothes, her superhero costume is the fishnets and the high heels. And one of the things I actually really liked that I felt kept it a little bit more in perspective is in the book we see her under a spell or hypnotized a couple of times, but we see that in the back of her head she still knows what's going on. And I love that those comments are like, "Oh my God, wake up, Z! What the hell are you doing?" And oh, this is such a corny line. I can't believe I'm, stuff like that. And I like that they kept that kind of perspective. Yeah, okay. I really think she is actually a pretty good character and a really good female superhero character. Like you said, she's one who she has a day job. She is a professional magician. She is always on the road.
Let me ask you a question, Alexis. Do you think that in a weird way Zatanna is actually one of the more feminist characters between Marvel and DC? And that's a lot of female characters to pick from. But I would argue that. I would argue that, if feminism is women are equals, in all things including sexuality, and if a man can run around shirtless with his muscles rippling and everything else, why can't a woman show off her body and still be equal? And that's why that would be my argument towards Zatanna is actually one of the more feminist characters in comic books.
Agreed. And again, part of the thing I like is that they take some of the feminist stereotypes, they don't push them, or they show other characters bowing to them. There's a scene where she crashes into her place and she sees that Nimue has turned her most recent one-night stand into a toad, and she throws him into this bin full of these other toads. She makes a joke about, how else do you get rid of a one-night stand? I think if we have a lesser writer, that would have been something Zatanna would have done. I think that they would have made a joke about how she is so powerful and she's so super feminist that the minute that the guy is done, she's like, good, now get the hell out of here or I'm going to turn you into a toad. Mm-hmm. Or the scene where she turns those three women who confuse her with a cocktail waitress into birds. But then she turns them right back so they land safely in the pool. Mm-hmm. Again, lesser writer probably would have kept them as birds.
Right. I think that's an important element of the Zatanna character is, and I talk about this a lot with movies and film, with film and television. You want to root for your good guys. And I would tell you that her confrontation with the Spectre, where he's like, yeah, I have no qualms with you. You're a righteous human being. I was like, yeah, she's one of the good guys. She isn't one of these like tortured superheroes. She isn't somebody with this horrible mean streak or violent streak to her. She's a righteous being trying, and she says, it's like, I have all of this power. I use it to keep balance in the world, so that, evil magic doesn't hold sway. But when I'm not doing that, I'm just living my life.
Pulling a rabbit out of my hat.
Right, pulling a rabbit out of my hat or whatever. But like I said, she's somebody, this is where I was going with this. She is somebody you absolutely want to root for. Like, she's like a genuinely good person. You know, I know everyone like loves the Wolverine and Punisher because they're badasses with mean streaks and they kill lots of people. But there's a part of me that's like, it's very hard to root for that. You know, it's very hard to root for murder. You know, meanwhile, you have a character, like there's the flip side of that is you have Zatanna, who I don't have any faults with her.
Well, one thing that I picked out of here for this character that I thought there is a big absence of self-doubt in Zatanna. She's very confident, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't remember any part of this story. The only time I could really think of when she was just questioning herself or what she was doing was when she was kind of going to the psychologist to kind of work all that stuff out in regards to, and that isn't really even much. That's very surface. That's very surface. But she's very confident in the way she uses her magic. She's confident in the strength that she has, and holds power over. I mean, this is to tie it back to the Brother Knight thing. This is a guy, when you look at Brother Knight, he's like this almost decayed corpse zombie looking dude, very powerful when it comes to magic. And, you know, you see that right off the bat in that first story where he shows up with his gang of underlings and they lay waste to all these criminals by turning them into some nasty stuff. She immediately just says, "Take me to Brother Knight." And she like faces off right there with all of them in that den or that bar. All these villains are just surrounding her and she doesn't sway a bit. She is like confident right out the get-go. And that is one of the big defining characteristics I think I came away after reading this story about Zatanna. She knows what her power is and she's very, very confident in her ability to use that power. So, Ronnie Adams, what do you think? One of the most powerful ones?
Absolutely. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, so confident that in that first encounter, she told one of them, she goes, "I don't need magic to take care of you," and she just pulled some judo out of thin air and dispatched
she was taught
her.
That. She had some skills.
Yeah, it's like in the Marvel universe, everybody has been trained by Captain America to fight. So people have worked with Batman, I guess, in this, and it was, you know, she's a really cool character. I mean, confident, powerful, and just, you know, positive what she can do.
I like the fact that she had a place. You know, she lived in a city, she had a job, she had a place, she had friends, she had a cousin. She isn't just fucking living in the Watchtower. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, she's not down at the hall just waiting on someone to rob a bank.
So I think what we have here at the end of issue 16 is a victim of the New 52 happening. So 16 issues, if we're going a month at a time. So this started about a little bit more, maybe a year to a year and a half, prior to the New 52 happening, which wiped all the DC books off the shelves, and we restarted with everything. So that being said, though, we have 16 issues, about 9 different stories. Alexis, did you have a favorite story that you really liked out of what you read?
Let's see here. I think my favorite story, again, you're going to forgive me, I don't think I know the exact names of each of the stories.
That's fine.
The favorite one I would have to be her interactions with her cousin Zachary and Mammon, the god of, or the demon of avarice.
Yeah.
I really liked that one. Again, I liked seeing her interact with other characters. I actually did not know about her cousin Zachary, and if he was like a reoccurring character, so I thought it was kind of cool to see that she's not the only person in her family who's gifted with magic. I love the design of Mammon. I thought that was so cool that the god of avarice, the one you sell your soul to. It's not just sell your soul to the devil. No, there's a specific soul collector. I thought that was really cool.
I do want to say that I have to give a shout out to the backslasher. That's right. Man who has the man who has the sword that apparently I don't even know. It looked like some kind of weird kind of a scissor.
Hang on. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, take a drink. Big surprise. Jesse liked the character that dealt in time travel.
I did. I loved how first off, just think about this. Backslash is his name, okay? Very interesting villain. I don't know if he's ever been a part of the DC universe up until this issue, but the way that she defeats him is probably one of the greatest Weird Al songs ever. All right.
I actually do Creek. That actually was kind of fun because I remember starting to read that one. I thought, oh, I'm going to hate this. But then, yeah, when the fairy, as it were, basically clues her in on what to do and you realize her way out of it, it is ingenious.
It is. It really is.
Can I just put forth one criticism about that issue? Because I like the story just fine. Most of the art, all right. Most of the artwork is fine, but let me throw this out there. And again, this is going to sound a little creepy, but I feel like it bears just at least a little bit of discussion. Why did the pixie have to have big boobs? That, it's one thing to kind of make your star one way. I think it just starts to become a little ridiculous and it starts to play into a lot of the criticisms of comic books that even the pixie in the thing, this little dainty Tinkerbell creature it looks like she's falling out of her fucking corset. There we go.
Stéphane Roux. Stéphane Roux is a French comic artist who I think he did the first few issues of this. I think issues 1 through 3. Then they kind of switched off between writers and artists as we went through all 16 issues. But I believe he came back for this specific issue. So if you're going to point the finger at anybody, go point it at the French. There you go. How's that? I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, I wasn't in any way going, oh my goodness, look at that. That didn't stick out to me.
You've never noticed that in a lot? No, I don't. Have you ever looked at most of the comic books that we've read where all the girls look like they're falling out of their shirts? And it's like,
okay.
All right. I think to a degree, I tend to, it's just, there's a comment that's been made about certain comic book artists where they draw women the way they think, the way they wish they were or the way they want them to be. And it's like, okay, like I get all that, but when it's every character, I'm pointing out that I feel like the artist is a bit creepy.
No.
Based on this discussion, based on this talking point that Mark is bringing up here, if you were to direct Mark Radulich to a certain time and a certain publisher to talk about the overcompensation when it comes to, we'll just talk about anatomy.
90s Image.
Thank you very much. Mark Radulich, we'll have to send you to 90s Image at some point, and then you'll have something to gripe about. Trust me, this is tame. Very tame. Honestly, this has been a point that's been talked about plenty of times throughout comic book history. Whether it be exaggerated female anatomy, I don't know. I just know that there are times where it can definitely go over a line. I don't think this is it.
I think my new favorite thing is listening to you stumble over trying to talk about something with any political connotations.
Okay. I will grant you that. I will grant you that. I don't want to, first off, I don't think that was something that stuck out to me. Ronnie Adams, was that something that you noticed in any way?
Well, yeah.
Okay. All right. Alexis, was that a concern when you read this issue?
You know what? I've been reading comics for a while, and the whole women proportional thing, when I read the comics, I look and go, you know what, as long as this doesn't look like Frank Miller or Rob Liefeld drew it, it really doesn't bother me.
Right. I mean, seriously, if you want to blame someone, or say that someone has a bad habit of doing this, I mean, you can obviously name certain artists, that are known for that. I don't know who Rob Liefeld was dating or married to at the time, but the proportions on the women that he drew, the bodies were just ridiculous. I mean, broken back, legs that were 4 feet long and all this. And I'm like, it was weird, but all of them had large chests. It was one of those things where, in the 90s, I was a teenager, and I was like, heck yeah. It's almost weird now, and take this with, as I mean it, not as anything else. Take this as like being, having read comic books for 30 years. Good Lord, really? Yeah, 30 years.
Every in my life.
But it's almost odd when you don't see a drawing like that. It almost breaks. No, it's almost like it breaks the suspension of belief.
Okay.
Like, because in comic books, everybody is supposed to look perfect and attractive, and it's just like movies, or like these stupid CW shows. Everybody in those shows is pretty. Everybody. I mean, like, you look at the cast of Riverdale, and they're all stupid, attractive people.
we went to the movies not that long ago and we saw a trailer for Enter the Spider-Verse. And,
Sorry.
I would say the first comic book character that my daughter really, picked up on and was attracted to and wanted to learn more about was Poison Ivy. And it's because I did the reverse order of the Batman movies with her. I showed her Batman and Robin first.
So you wanted to see the good ones last. That's good thinking.
Well, I think she might have been 5 at the time. She saw Uma Thurman's take on Poison Ivy, thought it was the greatest thing ever, and wanted everything Poison Ivy. Then, it's a couple years later, and this November is Sony's animated Into the Spider-Verse. And you know which character she immediately gravitated to and is now obsessed with? Close. Spider-Gwen.
Oh, okay.
Spider-Gwen, who, I don't have a picture up of her or anything, but it looks like they've gone out of their way to draw her normal looking, and she's wearing a sweatshirt, and just my daughter, I had her in the you guys saw the picture on Facebook. I had her in the comic book store the other day, and they didn't have volume 1 of Spider-Gwen, so, that's how she ended up with Silk and Squirrel Girl. But she was like, I want a Spider-Girl doll, and I want a Spider-Girl statue, and I wanted that, and not Spider-Girl, Spider-Gwen. That was all she talked about. And so I think about that. I understand that, you draw for your audience, but then I think about sort of the corner that they're trying to turn in comics, which is drawing for a bigger audience, drawing for a different audience. And
I was just going to add, though, I've been flipping through the book while you guys have been talking, and, of all the shots of her with her back turned, we don't have a single, major let's focus on Zatanna's ass shot in a single panel in this. And the fact you've got her running around in
fishnets.
Yeah, in fishnets like this, it's a lesser artist probably would have taken advantage of that. For the most part, she's covered actually pretty fairly. There's no that's practically a thong or anything like that. No, she's covered pretty well, either just by her regular clothes or by the coattails.
But I think that's why I'm drawing a distinction here, because the book isn't full of pinup shots the way that a lot of comic books are. And then you get to this one issue, and I just thought it was weird that
there's a little fan service in the first story arc, with her, wearing a towel to the bath and all that.
That is also, just like you said, it's drawn by same artist. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking about, actually, when you said that, I was thinking about the girls who turn into the fire demons.
Yeah, with the fire bikinis. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that too.
Never leave the house without your fire bikini. Look, I
don't.
Look, I don't spend believe it or not, I don't spend a lot of time looking at comic books going boobies. But I'm just like Spider-Man tits and Spider-Man tits and Spider-Man little Batman and tits. I'm not that, but
that's good.
I didn't read
Oh
Batman.
my gosh, I'll never get that out of my head.
I didn't read, Batman, Tom King's Batman 50 and be like, Catwoman's tits look wonderful on that wedding dress. Like that wasn't what was happening. But I did, I'm going through all these issues and I'm reading these and I'm really into the story. And I look at this one character, the way she's drawn, and it doesn't surprise me, French artist. I mean, I looked at that, I was just like, come on, man. What? The pixie? The thing's like the size of my fucking finger. But, let's give her a double T chest. Why not? It just seemed weird.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm all about, Spider-Gwen. Isn't she supposed to be, a teenager?
Yeah, she's supposed to be, she's supposed to be proportionate to whatever age Peter Parker is in the same storyline, so.
We'll go with teenager.
Okay, well, he's 40 now.
Yeah, I was going to say, the dude's, he's definitely pushing, at least mid-20s now, but I agree. I think Alexis hit it right, because they're obviously supposed to be near the same age when they're in the same story. Go ahead.
But, it would be really weird if an artist said, all right, we got this 16-year-old superhero girl. Let's put a gigantic rack on her.
But they would.
And I would not buy that because that would make me uncomfortable. I'm like, ugh.
Even though I've already seen countless fan arts of that at the Comic-Cons I've been working.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Actually, you know what the most popular Spider-Gwen fan art is? Spider-Gwen with the symbiote.
Oh, yeah. Brilliant.
No, the Spider-Gwen Venom combo, I really don't know.
Or Gwenpool.
That's actually the most popular Spider-Gwen fan art I have seen so far.
Yeah, that's weird. But That is really weird, though. I don't know why that's so popular, but
the Gwyn biote.
Gwyn biote. Yeah, there we go.
Gwyn biote, yeah.
Let me just say that when I started this podcast, this conversation was not in my notes.
Hey, not for nothing.
Thank
but
you, Mark Radlitz.
Hey, look, not for nothing, but it's not like we get a chance to talk about racks in comics when we're talking The Punisher, because he doesn't have much of a rack.
Agreed.
But his pectorals are amazing. But
maybe I swear to God, the next time we do discuss a book like that, though, I'm just like, have you seen the pecs on Flash?
I read comic books for escape, for the story, for the art, because I enjoy them. And having an overly sexualized superheroine, that doesn't, that's not a must-have. It's okay to draw them like a normal human being. Mm-hmm. You don't have to Rob Liefeld at every time. You don't have to Frank Miller at every time at all, really. I mean, it's just.
I would say that that's another strength to this book. It's that I did not get the impression. I mean, to me, she felt like a normal lady, a very attractive lady, but that was not like, okay, we got to make her look like this and this, that, and the other. There was a couple spots where I thought, okay, well, she's getting ready to go to bed. That makes sense that she's wearing that at night, getting ready to go to bed.
Okay, at no point have I complained about her or said that she was overly sexual. 20 minutes ago, I was saying she was like, I'm propping her up as feminist iconography. I'm talking about one minor I am going crazy over one minor character in one issue. This is a
fairy that doesn't even have any bearing over anything in these stories. But okay, we'll go with this.
Let's spend an hour talking about this one character.
By the way, speaking of palindromes, the fairy's name was Hannah. Brilliant. So yeah, okay. Well, let's move on. I think we have definitely covered that as well as we could.
Hang on, let me help you out with that.
Oh boy.
There you go.
Oh, the horsey has met its death once again. We have beat the horse to death. So, I guess, Mark, let's go ahead and throw it to you.
Is this because I haven't talked enough on this podcast?
Yeah, I'm talking. Good golly. Now, go ahead, man.
You know what issue I liked? I liked the issue with Uncle Sargon. I thought the concept of having magical items still have the essence of the person who wore them and then coming to life and when I'm going, I'm not done yet. It was very much like the Black Knight from Monty Python, that movie that Jesse hasn't seen.
I'm not dead.
I want to go for a walk.
Happy.
Jesse gets none of this.
We're actually mixing up the Black Knight and the old guy, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Yeah, I knew that. Okay, go ahead.
Well, it wouldn't make sense for the guy in the turban to suddenly go, I'll bite your legs off.
It would have been really funny, though.
Yes.
It's just a flesh wound. Anyway, so I like the idea of he gathers up he controls all these other magical items that have less essence in them, and he's like, I have unfinished business, and I'm going to strike down the unruly and all of this other stuff, and then she finds her dad in the sunglasses, and she ends up defeating the pile of laundry that is trying to take out Los Angeles. And nothing. All right. So
I did admit. I will admit that I did like that. The woman who was organizing the Magic Museum. I don't know why, but I was kind of predicting that she was going to end up being a bad guy. I mean, it would have been so cliche, but that's kind of what I thought they were going to go with. And I'm really glad they didn't go with that cliche. I really appreciated that. I thought she's like, well, this is good. She's like, well, this is a bribe, but this is a gift. I thought it was going to be some cursed item, and they didn't go there. And I was surprised, and I'm very glad that they skipped that.
Yeah, I like the story. I like the idea of, unfinished business in this magical item. I like the connection to the dad. I was, towards the end when she finally takes the sunglasses and you see her wearing them in her leather jacket when she's walking around LA, which is 100 degrees outside. I was like, I dug all that, cause I don't mind if if throughout a series you have the occasional Voltron goes to the mall episode, and of course
I would watch that show.
That have you seen Voltron on Netflix? That's what happens every season. There's a silly Voltron episode where they either go to the mall and go shopping and they buy a cow, or they play This last season they played Dungeons and Dragons for an episode. Like, it's hysterical.
A la Community, Ronnie Adams.
And so I don't.
They did it best.
They did.
I don't know. You haven't seen Voltron then. But I like that time out for kind of a silly thing. And yeah, you had a little bit of the comic book villain versus the comic book hero thing going on, but still, and then it had a lot of heart. I like her. It's the same thing with the puppet story. That also really spoke to me because it dealt with trauma. It dealt with repressed memories. And then again, it dealt with her connection to her dad, and that idea of you putting, as a girl, putting your dad on a pedestal and then, coming to the realization that your dad's not perfect. He's not, he doesn't deserve to be on the pedestal that you put him on. All that stuff spoke to me. I was really interested in it, and I thought it was some pretty stellar writing.
I was going to kind of hop in there and talk about how her relationship with her dad there's definitely elements of that throughout these 16 issues. There is quite the traumatic experience where they just touched on it there. I can't remember which storyline it was. I think it was they were kind of flashbacking to when she had this battle in hell for her father's soul, which was, and Lobo was there, I believe. I'm sure that was Lobo. It looked just like him, but Lobo was there, and Brother Knight was just waiting in the wings to kind of grab him. And she thought she had, again, destroyed her own father's soul in order to escape, trying to stop him from tormenting. But that was kind of like the big heavy arc. And then, of course, just like you said, with the puppet story. So there was there were a lot of times where you saw her trying to, recapture those moments with her father. What was his name again? Sangora? Why am I getting...
The uncle was Sagara. Her father is like Zachary Zoology.
No, her father is Zatanna.
Right.
Yeah. The Sargon story. That's the word I was looking for. The Sargon story. She kind of is able to talk to her father in that one too through his sunglasses, even though it's like a whatever magical essence is left. But either way, you definitely get a sense throughout these issues that there was she looked up to her father. He was the guy that taught her, I assume, everything that she knew. She still lives, or at least very frequently visits his mansion, which is very reminiscent of the Sanctum Sanctorum, in my opinion, for Doctor Strange, if you were to put it that way, because there's a lot of magical artifacts in there. So she has this great attachment with her father, and luckily she's able to kind of interact with him, even though at one point it's kind of in a bad way, but she's able to turn the tide, and is kind of able to wrap things up or come to closure with her father throughout here. All right, Ronnie Adams, do you have a favorite story here?
I like the introduction of Brother Knight.
Okay, all right.
I just think he's an excellent character. I mean, like, I've never really heard of him until now, and I was like, that's really interesting that he could do just about anything he wanted, but he just wanted to control all the crime families.
Yeah.
He's going to end up on Arrow, right?
Oh yeah.
What?
That Brother Knight character is going to end up on Arrow, but he's not really going to be undead. He's just going to wear a mask.
Let me throw this out here about Eldon Peck, Brother Knight, okay? Which, for some reason, going into this, I thought there was a huge history. To be honest, I don't think there's anything out there other than what we read in this series about Brother Knight. I don't see. I went to the DC Wiki. The only appearances that he has are in the issues that we've read. He doesn't appear anytime after in the New 52. And Ronnie, I mean, that whole arc felt unresolved because at the end, I mean, he's escaped prison. And he's on the loose at a goth club, and that was the end of that.
Oh, there's the revelation about the detective being his son.
Oh, yeah, and that's just like, oh, okay, man, where are we going to go from here? New 52? Oh, well, shit.
I think that's what everybody said when the New 52 came out.
like poor Paul Dini's like at home writing a script for issue 17, and he gets the phone call. Like, yeah, we're scrapping Zatanna, and we're starting over again. Everything's number one, and Zatanna is not getting her own book. Well, and he just takes his script and throws it in the air.
I know what I said. You know what I said when the New 52 came out?
What's that?
New Coke. I'm sorry, I called it. I said flat. What's that line from Futurama? It's like when they're it's like the new Slurm or Drake is like, then we'll introduce it as new Slurm, and then when everybody hates it, we'll bring back Slurm Classic and make billions. It's like every time I see something like this, Marvel Ultimate, New 52, it's like new Coke.
Yep.
Ultimate Marvel was more like Crystal Pepsi.
Shit.
It was good for a while, then it just made you sick.
I feel bad. I missed out on my chance to try Crystal Pepsi when it made its comeback. I missed that.
So, yeah, Brother Knight, a lot of, and Detective Colton, that was his name, I think. Yeah, that whole stuff is unresolved. Yeah, I could very well see, the writers of this story, because those advertisements for New 52 were showing up at least 4 or 5 issues prior to the end of this series. So DC knew what was going to happen. And I hate to see that these things were left unresolved, and the story of Brother Knight, which I thought, oh, this guy's coming back. When I got to issues 14 and 15, I'm like, okay, here we go. We're going to finish this series out. Nope. They didn't do anything to wrap it up. Instead, our last story was about some kid who grabbed a map to all dimensions and dimension hopped. Zatanna chases him. And then that's kind of, and takes him back home.
God, that was very Scooby-Doo.
It was. Well, you know what? Paul Dini is very frequent on Twitter. I follow his page. I was hoping when this premieres, I could maybe tag him on there. And so, Mr. Dini, if you listen to this, we would love to know. Is there a chance of we seeing Brother Knight come back in the future?
And
I would
Mark
also
can you apologize right now, please, Mark?
Oh, if we're gonna tag Paul Dini in this, I'd just like to say, can I get an explanation for the huge titted pixie? Can someone
That's not
talk
his
to me?
fault. It was. He had nothing to. Okay. Paul Dini,
Paul Dini.
sir, I respect everything that you did with this story, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to discuss about it right here on the Source Material Podcast.
Paul Dini, I would like to say that I lost a bet, and that's why I'm on here.
Oh.
Ow!
Oh, wow. Well, okay.
Keep that up, Ronnie.
I'm kidding.
Keep that up, Ronnie. I can find somebody else to do the non-Winfrey shows next year.
Like, am I the only person that came out here excited to talk about Paul Dini?
No, listen, I liked what I had a chance to read. Again, I didn't know anything about this character, and I thought she was a great character to definitely write a miniseries around. They did it wasn't a miniseries. I shouldn't call it that. It was definitely a great character to have an ongoing series about. There are plenty of stories in here, and I think Paul Dini wrote maybe 6 of these 16, if I remember correctly. He definitely did the first series, or the first 3, and then I think he did Fear of Puppets. I could be wrong, but we had some guest writers in there. A guy by the name of Derek Friedels, Adam Beechin, Matt Sturgis. The one with the Spectre was Paul Dini. The one where the Spectre showed up, which that, again, there's another unresolved plot. That whole thing where it was like, hey, look into the eye of this cat, and then the Spectre shows up, and she just immediately goes and takes it to the Spectre and says, hey, I hear you have a problem with me. He's like, no, not really. But at some point they were supposed to get into it. Never happened. That was really one of the biggest things out of this whole storyline that I was wanting to see. So if we are going to request anything for Paul Dini, yeah, bring Brother Knight back. I want to see the resolution as to what was going to happen between Zatanna and the Spectre.
She saw a symbol, and then she saw the Spectre, and then the captain made it a belly rub because it's a cat.
I don't know. I never had a cat that liked belly rubs. A dog, yes, but not a cat.
Yeah, does anyone here ever own a cat? I'm a strictly dog person. Anyone else on this podcast ever owned a cat?
I have owned plenty of cats in my time.
Any of them ever?
Get down, Maud.
I do miss that. Maud.
Get down, Maud. Is Maud still around, Mark?
No, Maud was turned into the what do you call it when you have to give the pets away?
Humane Society?
Sure. Maud was given away when I had to start chemotherapy.
Oh.
Humane Society, Korean restaurant down the street.
Oh.
I'll tell you what, sidebar story. The day that I had to get rid of the cat was the day that I had tickets to go see Bruce Pritchard before WrestleMania, and it took so long to get the county to accept the cat that we got there just as the show was ending.
Oh.
And the hate looks I gave my wife during that, and she knew it too. She was like, I done fucked up again. But
I'll expect my beating promptly, sir, when you get home from the wrestling match.
Well, that went dark.
All right. So after this, we were asking like what happened. You know, the New 52 kind of killed this. So it ends with issue number 16 in October of 2011, and then in September of 2011, the New 52 rebooted DC's continuity. In this new timeline, Zatanna is one of the main characters in Peter Milligan's Justice League Dark. She sports a new costume, though she still wears her classic magician's outfit during shows. In the first issue, she learns that Superman, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg have been defeated by the Enchantress and volunteers her services to the League. If people are still interested in the Zatanna character, and really, why wouldn't you be after the discussion we've had tonight? Check out the new Justice League Dark, as part of the Rebirth series.
Well, let's close up shop here. I don't want to keep you guys too late here. So, Ronnie Adams, we'll start with you. We'll go around. Final thought.
It was good. I had a lot of fun reading it. She's a strong character. It was good to finally get my hands on something with her in it of some substance. She's always been a background player, like we said, kind of B-level, appearing along with people. She is, I mean, like, you know, whoever's out there listening, correct me if I'm wrong, one of the most powerful people in the DC universe. And it's just it was good to, you know, read something where she's in the forefront and portrayed as a hero, as somebody of some substance. You know, Mark said just, you know, she's trying to live her life and has a job, and, you know, then, you know, she'll save the world or stop a undead gangster at some point. But, she just wants a nap.
That's right. She does. She does. A little bit of wine. I don't know if the wine showed up in this one or not, but I definitely know
it did. Merlot.
Okay. There was at least, I know of 2, maybe 3 storylines that started out where she was just trying to go to sleep. This poor woman, just trying to take, just get a little bit of rest in, and then next thing you know, the Great Fusilli shows up in her nightmares, or you know, just some crazy stuff was going on, and she cannot catch a break for a little while. So yeah, Ronnie, I'll go ahead.
That is a terrifying character.
That looks like fucking Gollum.
That's what I thought too. I immediately thought of Gollum with the Great Fusilli.
It shows you I'm a child of the 90s. I thought he looked like one of the gargoyles from Disney's Gargoyles.
Gargoyles?
Oh, I thought he looked like a little bit like Yellow Bastard from Sin City.
Okay. Deep cut, Ronnie Adams. I can't go there.
You know, that's where I go.
Days we might read that. I might read that. I think I did read that Yellow Bastard, actually, a long time ago. So, yeah, let me go ahead and I'll just kind of echo what you said, Ronnie. I enjoyed learning a lot more about this character. I think coming out of this, she's definitely one of the more powerful magic users. I would definitely say she's on the level of a Doctor Strange if we're going to compare her to Marvel. I think when you look at magic users, you think Constantine or Constantine, whatever have you pronunciation bridge with.
Oh, don't say Constantine.
Listen,
I mean, you know
I have been
better
told.
than that.
I have been told, sir. I have been told that is actually the correct pronunciation. Mark Radlich. What do you think of the 16 issues we've read here, sir?
I really enjoyed them. I mean, I think it's one of the better books that we've read this year. I'm glad that we got a chance to do it. I've been wanting to read this all year, and it was just, you know, I was focusing on the schedule, and not necessarily pleasure reading, but I'm glad that Alexis and I talked off podcast about bumping this up in the schedule. And, you know, like I said, I know I spent a long time, you know, talking about, you know, like feminism and
fairy boobs.
Fairy boobs. I was gonna go with over-sexualization, but sure. But I mean, devoid of all of that, I thought there was some really solid storytelling here, and this is a great character that I'd like to see more of. Okay. I'm probably at some point, you know, with all my vast time that I don't have much, probably gonna make myself read the Justice League Dark, comics that are out now.
I've heard that's pretty good. I think that my good buddy Justin Thomas, actually is taking an interest in that series as well. So I don't think you'll be disappointed there. Alexis, final thoughts?
I really did enjoy this. I'm really hoping, Mr. Paul Dini, if you do listen to this podcast, I really want to know more about Brother Knight and Detective Colden, how he's going to fit into all of this. I think that there is a lot more story here to tell, and I'm really hoping that you'll get the chance to continue telling it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I want to, never mind Paul Dini. Can I talk to Greg Berlanti for just a minute? You're interested in producing shows about DC characters, but you've got TV budget money. Can we get a Zatanna series? Let's put it in San Francisco. Can we get an Arrowverse show featuring Zatanna? You've got Constantine on the Legends of Tomorrow. I think the CW needs a Zatanna show. Where she's doing a Vegas show and she's fighting demons on the Vegas Strip and everything. I think the Paul Dini.
That's a great place for it.
I think the Paul Dini book. No, seriously. I think the Paul Dini book is a great Bible for a show on the CW. I think
actually I could see that Detective Cold and Brother Knight is the main. By the way, maybe it's because I watched too much Supernatural, but did anyone else look at Detective Cold and immediately think Jared Padalecki?
I pick up what you're putting down there. I do.
I mean, the whole series remind me kind of Supernatural.
No, I mean the design of Cold in the book. I swear to God. They designed him to look like Jared Padalecki. If I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yeah, no. I agree with you.
So yeah, I want to pitch. Maybe get Paul Dini in to consult and have Greg Berlanti. We don't need a Batwoman show. You've already got Arrow. Okay, we need Zatanna.
Maybe even bring in Dini's wife, the professional magician, as a magician's consultant.
There you go. These are all fantastic ideas. Look, to DC and to the greater universe at large, I'm available to showrun or direct or, produce, and I promise not to molest any women or steal. Okay, I just want to put that out there. I won't land anybody in federal court. Pick me on for your softball team.
Let's get into plugs.
I want to go ahead and throw it to our guest here, our frequent guest here on the Source Material podcast and many other podcasts here on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network, the president and owner of Honeysuckle Rose Creations, Alexis Hejna. How did you enjoy being on the show tonight, Alexis?
I knew you could not get through the podcast without calling me that at least once.
Sorry. 1,000 pardons, madam.
Yeah, it was great until that moment. You ruined it for me. Way to go.
Hashtag me too? All right.
Whoa.
All right. No, this was a fun night. All right. Honeysuckle Rose Creations is currently in the middle of a month-long sale on our Etsy and Handmade at Amazon store. We have big discounts on all of our merchandise, mostly because this month we are not hitting anything in the Comic-Con circuit, so all attention is to our online stores. Again, Honeysuckle Rose Creations. You can find us on Etsy and Handmade at Amazon. Sale goes until the end of August.
Where will you be in the month of September?
Month of September, we are going to be all over the place, actually. First weekend, we are at Fan Experience Salt Lake. Second weekend of September, we are at the Cincinnati Comic Expo. This is our, I think, 4th or 5th year going back there. We absolutely love that show. We're thrilled to be heading back. Week after that, it is Anime Weekend Atlanta. That is our 2nd year being there. We're really happy that we were able to get back to that one. After that, I'm going into a coma.
All right. I think the next time you are joining us for Source Material, if I remember correctly, is DC Hanna-Barbera 2. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I've kind of been harassing my local comic shop about when that book comes out. I think they're starting to get annoyed.
Well, so the next time you'll be able to hear Alexis Hejna from Honeysuckle Roses Creations is on November 5th for DC meets Hanna-Barbera 2. Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast.
Hi, I have a podcast called the Screaming Boy Podcast. We are on a slight hiatus due to technical difficulties with my computer. Hopefully we'll get it fixed soon. I tell you what, we have some really good shows in our archives, which you should go check out. And then we have a couple of shows here that are exclusive to the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network that were really a lot of fun. One about the demise of Toys R Us, and then we had another one that, if you ever want to hear Jesse Starker have a mild stroke on a podcast, then you should listen to our Movie Pass podcast. Here's the other thing. We may do another Movie Pass podcast that will be on the Rattle Legend Broadcasting Network about how we're all canceling our service, and Movie Pass Movie Pass needs to get their stuff together and stop being an embarrassment to themselves. I'm not angry over that but just a little bit. We have a lot of good shows up. We're on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and here in the Radio Leisure Broadcasting Network, which I just put up a ton of pictures on Facebook and Instagram.
Instagram!
But I just got back from Raleigh SuperCon, which was 3 days. I loved it. It was so much fun. Was not a comic book centric con, which was my first experience with that. Every convention I've been to has been, you see scads and scads of comic books everywhere, in long boxes and everything. There were a few tables with books there. A couple of people did not even bother to put them in alphabetical order. That's how comic books didn't play a lot into this, other than who you were a fan of. This was very much a fan-based convention, which centered around meeting some of your favorite celebrities. There were Q&As at the wazoo. There were several short film festivals. There were comedy shows. There was 5 live wrestling shows, independent wrestling shows, which were absolutely amazing. Such good wrestling if you're a wrestling fan. And fantasy super cosplay wrestling you can enjoy even if you're not a wrestling fan, because where else are you going to see Skeletor tag team with Melina from Mortal Kombat and take on Storm and Black? So it was a lot of fun. It was like I was in Disney World for 3 days, only a lot nerdier. There was a shadow cast done of The Room, Tommy Wiseau's best worst film ever. There was a huge shadow cast and viewing of Rocky Horror Picture Show that was actually hosted by Barry Bostwick. There were wrestlers, Hillbilly Jim, Sergeant Slaughter, Jerry Lawler, Mick Foley, Kane, Rey Mysterio, Trish Stratus, Diamond Dallas Page were all there, as well as William Shatner, Henry Winkler, John Barrowman from Arrow, Alan Oppenheimer, who is a voice actor that did the voice of Skeletor, Man-at-Arms, so many other great characters. Then you had the cast of Karate Kid and Cobra Kai that were there, which was, Ralph Macchio, Billy Zabka, and Martin Kove, which I got to meet all 3 of them, and they absolutely made my weekend because they could not have been more gracious and humble and just absolutely just nice guys that were grateful for fans being there. And so many vendors that were selling so many cool things. Ended up with a big glass beer mug with a D20 etched into it. And, a map of, I don't know why I have a map of Middle Earth, but I do now. Just things that were, it was just a great experience all around. There were so many great cosplay costumes, such great cosplay there. You can see all the pictures that I put up on social media. Check us out on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Facebook and Instagram as Screenboy Podcast, and Twitter at Screenboy PR. Just go ahead and say it, Mark. You know you want to.
On the Instagram?
Yeah, thank you. I would do it, but my allergies have been kicking my butt lately. And if I do it, I will cough all over the microphone like I'm dying, and I don't want to do that.
You should quit smoking, sir.
And fantasy cosplay wrestling. Not only, were your favorite cartoon anime characters, there was a tag team from the anime Ruby. I've never heard of that, but apparently it was huge, or it is huge. You had all these characters, but Rick Sanchez from Rick and Morty was your commentator for the evening, along with Zorg from The Fifth Element. So, he was your commissioner. It was amazing. It was something else it was really hysterical to hear Rick Sanchez get tickled at himself, and start laughing for real in the middle of his commentary, because they did this big, there was 3 of them, Spider-Man was wrestling, and he did this big convoluted crazy move, and Zorg goes, well, I just don't know what happened right there. And he said, that looked like it hurt both of them. And Rick goes, looks like it hurt everybody involved. It hurt me just watching it. And he was just cutting on people. It was just a lot of fun. If you ever have a chance to go to Raleigh SuperCon, please do. It was just a world rocking experience for me, and I will definitely be going back next year.
Alexis, you've been to quite a few Comic-Cons. I know that's kind of like your job. Have you ever been to one that has had cosplay wrestling?
Cosplay wrestling? I don't think so. I mean, I know that I've seen a couple of conventions that have advertised with smaller local wrestling groups and have hosted events with them and such. But if cosplay wrestling was something that they did more often there, I apologize. I don't really watch a lot of that kind of stuff. So if it's something that they've done there, I've missed it.
Okay.
I think this is mostly centric to the SuperCon.
Oh, really?
Because there's Florida SuperCon and so with the SuperCon name, I think it just comes with Fantasy Cosplay Wrestling performs there. So I'm not sure. I could be wrong on that, but that's the only two places that I've heard them. I guess they do other shows by themselves, but those are the only two cons that I've heard them show up at. But of course, I just saw them for the first time this past. As you listen to this, it'll have been a month ago.
Okay.
It's a brilliant concept.
It is.
That was just an absolute blast to watch, and it was like the entire room was just instantly linked because everybody was having so much fun and everybody was laughing and watching their favorite characters. I mean, the characters could use the powers that that the wrestlers could use the powers that the character had.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Can you do me a favor? Can you send Jim Cornette a video of this?
Oh,
no, because I've heard Jim Cornette cuss everybody out enough.
Nah.
And he would absolutely hate, because there's a lot of flippy dippy going on in it too.
I need Jim Cornette. I need Jim Cornette to see this and go on a rant, please. Please help me.
All right.
But I mean, like Rey from Star Wars was wrestling, and her finishing move was the Force choke slam.
Yes, send that to Jim.
Brilliant.
Send that to Jim Cornette.
And then Spider-Man would, do the wrist thing, and they would grab their eyes like they were webbed in the eyes.
Oh,
it was, and Star-Lord's big thing was if he took his shirt off, he got stronger, and then he would randomly start a dance off in the middle of the band.
That's
and
great.
He was by far the best wrestler in there, but they were all so super talented. Frozone was, he was in there. Lana from Archer, and then Ash Williams was brilliant. And they also had a lesser known character, which I was really impressed with, that they even know who he was, and it was Batroc the Leaper.
Oh yes.
And when he came out and they did his whole, entrance and everything, it was on the screen, Batroc the Leaper. So they played up the whole, French aspect of it. So, but other than that, Raleigh SuperCon was just an absolute blast. And I went when the doors opened, I was there, and when the doors closed, I was there. And this sucker went till 1:00 in the morning. It was SuperCon After Dark. I got to watch Walter Cohen, which was the original Chekhov, tear it up on the dance floor at the VIP party. 83 years old and was absolutely just, cutting a rug.
Oh, wow.
Met Joey Fatone from NSYNC. Dante Basco, who played Rufio in Hook and does a lot of voice acting and other ventures. So, I'm going on, and I apologize for taking so long, but this was just an event for the ages, and I loved it.
Oh, man, I wish you had your podcast network. This would be a good this would be a good topic right here. So
well, hang on.
I'm glad you all find humor in my pain of not having.
I don't. This is a sincere wish that I had. I wish we could have done an episode on your experiences there.
Right, so real quick,
well, you kind of just did.
Here's what you, yeah, really. Here's what you just missed in the month of August. We had Lobo Highway to Hell on July 30th. We did a Damn You Hollywood for Mission Impossible Fallout. We took a look at Dee Snider's For the Love of Metal on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Sean Comer and I reviewed both Glow Season 2 and Orange is the New Black Season 6. Robert Winfrey and I reviewed Christopher Robin. Jesse and I reviewed the new Bleeding Through on the Metal Hammer of Doom. You had a double shot on the 13th of August. Sean and I did an on-trial for Dances with Wolves. Meanwhile, on the Source Material podcast, I gave it a rest and gave Jesse his show back. And he did an episode with some other folks called Spider-Man Threat Level Red. And the last movie of the Damn You Hollywood summer season was The Meg, which we reviewed. Jesse and I looked at the new Cruishan album, and this week on the Metal Hammer of Doom is our summer wrap-up show for Damn You Hollywood. We're going to look back at how all the summer movies performed. Did they meet our expectations? Did they not meet our expectations? Etc., etc. And, we'll look at the year going forward. OTEP has a new album out. We'll review that this Wednesday. Cult 45 with a K. Next week, we're finally getting around to Legion on TV Party tonight, so it'll be Legion Season 2, and alongside that, synergizing with that, is X-Men Legacy Volume 1, and there's a new Alice in Chains album coming out this week, folks. This Friday, August 24th, Alice in Chains, Rainier Fog. We're going to review it on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Jesse, take us out.
Whew, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us tonight. I want to thank our guests, Alexis Hejna, for coming on here, Mark Radlich, as always, Ronnie Adams. It's time to end this show. Get on out of here. This has been source material in our coverage of Zatanna. Zatanna?
Good Lord.
Have a good one, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Don't turn your back on me, baby. Don't turn your back on me, baby.
Alexa, turn the living room light off. All right, boys, I'm ready to podcast.
But what we did was we all held hands and crossed the pronunciation bridge together. Now, see?
Mark,
Sure you did.
you really have to talk to Jesse about drinking before the podcast now. And I blame us.
Can we have a sidebar right now, you and I, Ronnie? Is Jesse drinking before the show?
Jesse got drunk.
I think that's something else.
Dude, are you on cocaine?
You get Mark started on the corgi butts, and then it's all over.
What? I said, what, corgi butt.
There it is.
Dude, but John Constantine, fucked everybody in the DC universe. I'm pretty sure he got it all with Batman at one point.
Don't recall that being in the wiki.
There's a lot of strange things that go on in the Wayne Manor after dark.
Wayne mannerisms.
I just face palmed.
Not another brother from another mother, but just another brother. So I'm gonna have another hit of coke. I'll be right back.
So lost right now.
Ronnie, stop giving him cocaine. What a creep I sound like.
You're a straight male. She's wearing fishnets and heels. You're allowed.
Thank you. Hashtag feminism.
$6 surcharge.
$6 no surcharge. Trust me, I'm editing about 70% of myself tonight, so don't worry.
No, you should just release the raw footage and call it the cocaine edition.
Yeah, seriously, I'm sitting here like, okay, I know I don't listen to every single show, but what the flying hell did I miss?
Huh.
That got a laugh, but Zatanna battling a basket of laundry, nothing. All right, notes for next time.
Make more meth jokes.
Man, I need to take a breath, guys. You guys need to calm me down.
We've tried.
Everyone, I hope you've enjoyed listening to Jesse Starcher Struggles with English.
It's every fucking week. Just to throw this out there, too, with Zatanna, plural.
Zatanna. Soft A.
I didn't quite hear what that second one was.
Can I just get through this?
Nope. Say it loud, say it proud.
Instagram.
Do I have to say pronunciation bridge again?
Please don't.
Everybody hold hands as we cross the pronunciation bridge.
Or make up a town, San Fen, fuck your mama, and, whatever.
That flies on the CW, right?
That is such a great pitch. I'm sure he love hearing that.
Let me corner you in an elevator here, okay? Just listen to me for. I got a 5-minute elevator pitch ready to go.
Okay.
So we start out in San Fran, fuck your mama.
we could move on from my name of the city for just a moment.
I don't think we can.
What started as my first coffee shop turned into 10. So I switched to the Spark Cash Card from Capital One. I earn unlimited 2% cash back on every business purchase. Like this. That's thousands of dollars going back into my business. What's in your wallet?
Capital One Bank USA, N.A.